a little girl. Her name is Anna, and she was injured when the helicopter, early in this full-scale invasion, landed on her kindergarten in Brovary, not far outside of Kiev. The helicopter, it was hit by the helicopter. It caught on fire, and a lot of the children and their parents were burned. And one of these little patients we call her little Anna, and her body was 40% burned. Her father was burned. He was there with her, and she went through a series of surgeries in Ukraine and even in Austria. And through our network of surgeons in Lviv, we found out about her. And Craig Hobar basically took her as a personal project to try to help save her burns. Her face and a lot of her torso was so badly injured, and he basically took it upon himself to make it his personal mission, and he brought her little Anna and her parents over to Texas for surgeries, and she's now back in Ukraine and continuing medical care through the people who are on our team and others. Yeah, so we had a follow-up and visit with introducing Dr. Patrick Kelly, who is he is the head of craniofacial reconstructive surgery and plastic surgery at the University of Texas, Austin. So he and his colleague, Dr. Steve Henry, who's also from the University of Texas, they perform a lot of surgeries reconstructing the base, and they met her and they had a recommendation for further treatment. This little girl has inspired many great surgeons to care about her situation and her case. And so we're all very excited to see the little Anna get better and better and lead a long and productive and happy life.
Hi, hello, welcome to the Slava Hero podcast. I'm Travis Hightower. This is a podcast focuses on the individual heroes and sometimes the legends helping to defeat Russia's unprovoked war on Ukraine. With me here is the traveling Ed Moth, founder of Ed's Friends, a humanitarian organization providing aid where needed. Ed's story in Ukraine started out with the Peace Corps in 2003 to 2005, and when the full-scale invasion began, he used his connections from that to found an all-star team of surgeons and others to help bring rapid response and humanitarian aid wherever they are needed. Hello, Ed. How are you doing today?
Hi, Travis, and hi, Nancy. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here joining you guys today. Thanks for the nice introduction, Travis. I guess I blush a little bit hearing you, but I was maybe part of the starting process of bringing surgeons over there, and more of like the butterfly effect. It's there's a lot of other people that really built it out. It wasn't just me.
Oh well, I can tell that from your webpage, and what I've got here is a QR code for people in the top left corner, which they can learn. If you go to that, people can that brings you directly to your PayPal for the donation page. And the ticker going across the bottom right now is for the website, edsfriends.org. I just wanted to give you a chance to tell people about Ed's Friends. And I know when you go to your webpage, you can tell there's a big team of people that help form this, as you said. But kind of give us a rundown of what's been what Ed's Friends has done and how it's grown, if you can.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Travis. Ed's Friends is a nonprofit 501c3 that I founded in 2022, starting in March, about a month or and a half after the beginning of the full-scale invasion. We really hit the ground running, bringing supplies, medical and other supplies over to Ukraine. It was probably easier for me to do than other people because I had been not only a Peace Corps volunteer there 20 years ago in Ukraine, but I had been doing business in Ukraine for quite a long time. So a lot of business friends and colleagues along the way were very helpful in starting this process. And in the U.S. side, a lot of the Ukrainian diaspora really immediately jumped in once they saw me trying to help, a non-Ukrainian person trying to help their country. So immediately I got a lot of support, and Ed's Friends really was started as just an organization like it sounds, a bunch of friends on the U.S. side trying to help other friends on the Ukrainian side, starting with pallets of medical supplies to ambulance and evacuation vehicles to helping to bring doctors from America over to Ukraine.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, thank you for that. So people think about, choosing their charity money wisely, and they want to make sure it goes to a good cause. And I've spoken with others that even a few dollars here or there helps something like Ed Friends. Can you kind of give a rundown of what kind of help like a $20 donation might help buy for Ed Friends?
Sure. It costs anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to run a medical mission. So I have gone on 14 missions, humanitarian missions from U.S. to Ukraine since March of 2022. There have been already 12 surgery missions. So out of those missions that I've been doing, a lot of them are doctor missions to bring surgeons and qualified help from the U.S. to do surgery over there. Now, Ed's Friends is one of several organizations that help to coordinate and fund these missions. So it's not just Ed's Friends, but my partner organizations are Leap Global Missions, Christian Medical Association of Ukraine, and AROMS, and there's Ed's Friends, of course. And together, we are a small club of like-minded people trying to bring medical and surgical aid. So these missions need to be paid for, and what do the dollars go towards? They go towards travel in country. Now these surgeons, they pay for their own flights for the most part. If there is some aid needed for a nurse or other person to come along, we might help. But really, the dollars are paying for in-country logistics. So getting all of our team, which could be anywhere from 3 or 4 people to we've had 16 and 20 people missions. So getting people around from Poland into Ukraine and then into the cities where we're doing surgery, it takes work. So there's people involved, there's drivers, there's vehicles, there's gasoline, and then there's medical supplies that are to be paid for, and there's shipping. So, for example, for this last trip, I see you putting up photos from this very last one, but just previous to this trip that you're showing, about a month ago, Nancy and, not Nancy, but some of the surgeons and I went to Cherkasy, and that was a microvascular reconstructive surgery trip, which required advanced medical equipment like a surgical microscope. These microscopes can cost anywhere from $100,000 to $1 million each, new. We were fortunate enough to receive a donation of a used one, but the transportation still cost thousands of dollars to get it from Texas over to Cherkasy in Ukraine, as you can imagine. So
Right.
Right. So there's a lot of logistics costs that go into getting these missions completed. And what I prefer about the surgery missions, as opposed to just donating vehicles or supplies, for me is it's hard for me being over here in the U.S. to be able to monitor and control what happens to donated supplies once it reaches Ukraine. However, I know for sure that if I'm helping to fund a group of well-qualified surgeons to go over to Ukraine, we see the results, we see the work, we see the surgeries, we know what's being done. There's no dollar wasted. So for me, I have a big preference in focusing a lot on medical missions.
Wow. That was perfect. That's like, yeah, I was trying to find a picture. I think I had one of the microscope you were talking about. Okay, because I remember you talking about doing that when we first saw the Person Human Safari documentary. And speaking of that documentary, the war has changed a lot in the past couple years, depending on how much U.S. aid and aid from other countries you've been getting. Has it made your job harder or easier depending on how much government aid has been coming in?
Honestly, our donors are private citizens in the U.S. and other countries, so really we're not as dependent on government USAID programs. Although my organization has received grants before For example, I received a Peace Corps related grant, and some other small grants too. But really, we rely on just caring citizens who wanna find a way to help but can't. So they find Ed's Friends, they find Lead Global Missions, they find AROMS and Christian Medical Association of Ukraine. So yeah, that we're basically relying on our own fundraising activities.
Well, you always have been, but I think connected to that is the morale of the people of Ukraine itself. Like, I think the 18th was the largest. May 18th was the largest attack of the war on Kyiv itself, and May was an increase altogether for drone attacks, ballistic missiles, and human safari across Ukraine. So these types of attacks on civilians have only been increasing, and that ends up being a lot of the surgeries that you're doing right now. I'm assuming is that, or is there equal military and civilian?
So, well, first of all, let me just put it out there that I'm not a doctor. I'm one
Right.
of the organizers and coordinators, and I do fundraising and coordination. But our team of doctors, we have now worked with over 60 medical professionals that our teams have brought over from North America and elsewhere to Ukraine. This just at the end of last year, or maybe just a few months ago, we surpassed 1,000 surgeries surgical procedures performed in Ukraine over these dozen missions. So in the very beginning, in 2022 and 2023, the types of injuries that we were seeing and working on, there was more of a prevalence of bullet wounds, entry wounds. Our team works mainly on shoulders and up, so we're focused on head and neck reconstructive surgery, oculoplastic surgery, maxillofacial surgeries. So we're reconstructing jaw bones, mandibles, maxillas, and eye orbits. And in the beginning, as I said, we saw a lot of bullet wounds. And now, since the nature of the warfare has changed to drone warfare in the past over a year or so, we no longer see so much of that. There's not as many bullet wounds or artillery explosive wounds, but there are more mine injuries still for the lower extremities, and then drone explosion traumas, severe traumas to the face and hands, and due to drone explosions. I don't know the exact number, but it's something over 90% of the patients that we are working on are related to drone injuries. So we can see from the operating room the changing nature of the warfare.
Yeah, no, I mean, bullets are never good either, but the fact that the injuries are getting more sophisticated, that's scary to me. And I kind of wanted to ask one more question about the morale of the Ukrainian people that you're seeing. What does it do? And this is a question for both you and Nancy. What does it do for morale for the people, even if they only meet a few Americans that are interested in helping them and helping them through their injuries and restore their cities? Because I've encountered Ukrainians that have come here that didn't know that anyone still cared in America or in in Europe, and they went home with a better feeling and said, "Please come tell the rest of us that we're still out here helping."
Well, I speak for myself, and I mean, and from what I know of Nancy, maybe it goes for her too. But I don't plan on stopping to go to help in Ukraine. I think that our presence over there, yes, there's tangible aid that we can help provide, but the morale boost that it gives to the people who encounter our teams is visible. You can see the emotion in people's faces, whether it's the patients that meet us or that we meet, or the Ukrainian medical professionals that we meet. You can see the gratitude in their faces, in their eyes, and that's what makes it all worth it. The morale, we are in a little bubble when we're there because we're in a hospital working with a team, with a Ukrainian team, and with Ukrainian patients, and it's just unimaginable how you can see a wounded defender who's lost parts of his body, his extremities. You can see just the hell that he's been through, but with such a smile on his face, when we're all in a room together, it's amazing. I can't even describe how that makes us feel, and how much admiration it fills me with personally, just to meet such strong and resilient people. I hate using the word resilient because I'm sure Ukrainians are just tired of being heard described as resilient. Nobody wants to be put in their position where you have to be called resilient. And then, but the unexpected gratitude and joy that we get to witness from the patients is something special, and that's our reward. So that makes everything worth it.
Well, thank you. And Nancy, you've only been over to Ukraine one time so far, is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, I went in December last year. Yeah,
And
and
was your
my experience with the individuals there that we met, and the individuals that we provided, surgical care for, it was just incredibly moving. Their gratitude and how moved they are that we as a team care about them and want to give them kind of the most high tech, in our case, the types of implants and surgical planning we provide, such high tech solutions to their issue. And it's just, as Ed said, it's all the payment that we could all get. It is incredibly humbling, and you find such a sense of strength from these people that are going through so much for so many years. They're exceptional individuals, even with being tired of what they're going through. They are so strong. I can't imagine having to endure that. So as Ed said, it has been a life-changing experience for me to get to experience this and be a part of it. So yeah.
And I didn't give Nancy her full introduction yet, but for those, she is the founder of MedCAD, a brand founded in 2007, where they use a process called digital sculpting design. Started out for toys for Mattel and Disney, but then expanded into the medical space. And by 2011, you were granted 500,000 FDA clearance for cranial implants, and those cranial implants have been used in some of the surgeries we've been talking about recently.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yep. Okay. So the 510K clearance is what the FDA grants on a company to be able to produce medical devices. And so we started out in cranial implants, and now we are working in orthopedic, lower extremity areas, facial, craniomaxillofacial, oral surgery, and thoracic. So in the 13 years, 14 years through that growth, we've really perfected the process of digital planning of surgeries, and everything that we make is for one patient at one time for one surgery. So it's called patient-specific medical device. And so with the cases that we're doing on civilians and soldiers in Ukraine are really no different than working on a patient in Denver or Pittsburgh. We get on planning surgical calls with the surgical team, and they might be in Kyiv. There may be some from Texas that are working on those cases with them, and there's a collaboration that happens with the surgeons and our engineers, and we plan the approach and how the surgery will go, and the kinds of tools that'll be involved that are custom to that patient's body. So using that CT data, we're able to take that anatomy, make it into 3D, and then make surgical guides and implants for that patient. And then those are printed in titanium. As well, we make 3D prints of the patient's anatomy so that they can be, shown prior to the surgery, what the procedure is going to look like, but also as aids in the operating room.
Wow, that's crazy impressive technology to me, and I'm glad it's being put to good use. And so that I'm interested in how you and Ed got involved with Ed's friends, and when you got to meet Ed, and is there a story behind that?
There is a crazy story behind that.
Okay.
One of my good friends had a problem with her eye, and she went to see this phenomenal surgeon here in Dallas, Texas, named Jorge Corona.
Mhm.
And she had heard from me that I wanted to get involved somehow in helping out Ukraine and in the medical surgical planning space. And I just didn't have any connections or anything, but I was opining about that one day. And so she literally called me from the consult with Jorge Corona and said, Jorge, you have to meet Nancy. You guys have to get to know each other because she can help your surgeries in Ukraine. So she knew that he had been going over there for missions. So we got involved in Jorge's fourth mission, I believe, and so that was in mid 2024. So I believe that we've done devices for about 25 individuals in the three missions that we've worked on. But that was a crazy kind of crazy connection that somebody right down the road in Presbyterian Hospital in Dallas, was involved in these surgeries, and we could help him and his fellow surgeons with the reconstructions.
That's fun.
And Jorge is an amazing individual. Dr. Jorge Corona found out early about our medical missions, and we had been going over to Lviv and operating at the Ahmadi Children's Hospital and other hospitals in Lviv at the time. And we were forming our first group to go further into the interior of the country, to go further east. However, the further into the country and further east you go, the more dangerous it was, especially at that time. So most teams of foreign doctors that we had ever heard of or knew of were staying in the west, in Lviv or Ivano-Frankivsk. And Jorge, he was in the first group that ever went into Kiev. And as far as I know, from what, I may be wrong, but from as far as what we heard from our friends and colleagues, that Jorge's group was the first foreign doctors to be operating in Kiev. So he really led the charge, and he has formed since then great partnerships with some of the best oculoplastic and ophthalmologist surgeons of Ukraine. And now there's quite a very nice vision for Ukraine program that we're all running together.
Does it take a lot of extra coordination the further east you go with the Ukrainian government? Is it difficult to get into some of those areas? Or?
Well, we are doing more tertiary surgeries, and we're not doing stabilization. We're not out on the front line.
Okay.
So there's role one. You're basically in a very hot zone, and you're stabilizing and stopping the bleed. And then the wounded person makes it out to role two, where there is more than just a medic. There's probably an anesthesiologist and a general surgeon or an orthopedic who's going to do some damage control. But that's also very short term, and the wounded person gets sent further in to somewhere like Dnipro or Cherkasy, which is where we were in our reconstruction mission in April and May. And there you get a combination of people who were wounded not too long ago, and also people who have already gone through the damage control and are ready for their complex surgeries. And that's where our skill set comes in. So once you have a person who's stable, now war injuries are very different than civilian injuries. They're multi-systems. So you might have a person who has lost some of his limbs. He's also suffered other damage to his head and neck, and maybe to his torso. So there's many things going on. But what our team is doing a lot of now is we're performing reconstructive surgery. So a person who might have lost his arm because the blood vessels, nerves, and bone structure has all been rather severely damaged, you might otherwise have really no option other than to amputate. However, with the skill set of the surgeons that we've been bringing, who have an expertise in microvascular surgery, there are possibilities of rescuing limbs in some of these cases. For example, by taking a piece of their leg bone. The lower leg has two bones, tibia and the fibula. The smaller fibula, you don't really need it in order to walk. You depend on the bigger tibia. So our doctors can harvest the fibula and use it to rebuild their humerus, their upper arm, or their jaw, or other parts of their body that wouldn't have a chance of being rescued otherwise. So
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, for someone who's not a doctor, you speak a lot more doctor language than I do. So, but you've been around them a lot. But That just brings to mind some of the children that I've seen and stories that I've been telling recently. There's a documentary out. I don't know if both of you have seen it or not, called "Children in the Fire," where of the some of the folks, some of the young people, did have to have amputated limbs, and their stories are pretty courageous. I was wondering if, and Ed, I know you got to get out of here, so this can be like the final wrap up. If you know, if you've seen any stories of a patient that was particularly courageous that you found inspiring, or even if there's something you want to know, want people to know about Ed's friends before you have to sign off when we get you back on the road.
Well, I'd like to talk about a little girl who's been an inspiration for so many of us, both in Ukraine, for Ukrainians and North Americans. There's a little girl. Her name is Anna, and she was injured when the helicopter, early in this full-scale invasion, landed on her kindergarten in Brovary, not far outside of Kiev. The helicopter, it was carrying important VIPs from the Ukrainian government who lost their lives. And on the ground, the kindergarten that was hit by the helicopter, it caught on fire, and a lot of the children and their parents were burned. And one of these little patients we call her little Anna, and her body was 40% burned. Her father was burned. He was there with her. And she went through a series of surgeries in Ukraine and even in Austria. And through our network of surgeons in Lviv, we found out about her. And the founder and director at the time of Lead Global Missions, our partner organization, Craig Hobar, basically took her as a personal project to try to help save her burns. Her face and a lot of her torso was so badly injured. And he basically took it upon himself to make it his personal mission, and he brought her little Anna and her parents over to Texas for surgeries, and she's now back in Ukraine and continuing medical care through the people who are on our team and others. And just recently we met with her and her parents again on the Chillicothe mission. So we had a follow-on visit with introducing Dr. Patrick Kelly, who is he is the head of craniofacial reconstructive surgery and plastic surgery at the University of Texas, Austin. He came on his first mission with us just a month ago, or less than that. But he got to meet the patient, little Anna, and her parents. So he and his colleague, Dr. Steve Henry, who's also from the University of Texas, they perform a lot of surgeries reconstructing the face, and they met her and they have had a recommendation for further treatment. So we're hoping that over the years, she will be looked after by more than just the doctors who are now seeing her. But it seems like this little girl has inspired many great surgeons to care about her situation and her case. And so we're all very excited to see the little Anna get better and better, and lead a long and productive and happy life.
That's exactly resilience is a good word, but inspiring is more when I think of Ukraine. And with that, we'll let you get back on the road, Ed, and I'll keep talking to Nancy. But we appreciate you being here so much because you're obviously super busy. So
yeah, sorry, just my timing was just pretty tough for this this particular moment. But you'll have a lot of great information from Nancy. It's been amazing. I've known Nancy long before I met her. I knew her by her work, and her donated implants, the patient-specific implants, have been coming with our missions for a long time. And I just heard the legend of Nancy Harrison and her company MedCAD. And finally I was invited for a tour to Nancy's factory, and I was just completely floored at what I saw, and it was so moving to find out how much the implants are valued at, and her company had been donating them to our missions, and so anyway, listen, I wish you both a great continuing of the interview. Thanks for having me, Travis.
Yeah. And you're back. Welcome back. Anytime. We have a lot more questions for you, I'm sure, and we want to get updates on Anna and other patients and Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
Aaron Slava.
We'll talk to you later, Ed.
Bye, Ed.
All right, Nancy. All right, Travis.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. So I can remove that. All right. So that was Ed. He is a busy man. He runs, both Ed's friends and his other. What was his other line of professional work?
Well, he's working with some entrepreneurs in Ukraine, and they have developed a golf simulator. So he's out in Austin installing one at a golf course. So,
okay. And just getting back to some kind of normalcy for people in Ukraine is really important. And I'm not a big golfer, but my family members are. My dad is. We played golf last weekend, and there was a drone that flew over us really low. And if I kind of thought to myself, because of where my headspace is like, if I was in Ukraine and that was a drone coming after me, I would not have reacted quick enough because it was right there. But
I think about that often, that how the profile of drones are very different than here than there. Yeah.
Right.
The terrorism that you feel when you hear a drone there is quite different than
as opposed to some kid
the
flying
awe
his drone over.
The awe you have watching them here in the States. So.
Right. Like, why is that drone watching me play terrible at golf instead of hunting? But yeah. And that leads us a little bit into it is a sad topic, so I'm going to switch a little bit to my other website that I show every time. There's Hassan Human Safari. This is a documentary of what it's like to be hunted by drones. Essentially, Hassan is the most affected space, and there is a town across the river from Kherson, which is I've showed my listeners before, called Oleshki. Have you heard of that situation?
No.
Right. So Oleshki is very much it's on the other side of the river from Kherson, and it is occupied by the Russians. But they're doing more with that. They're doing kind of another Bucha, where the residents are sort of held prisoner under a curfew. And if the Ukrainians decide to attack, they become human shields. And so there's a few people that have escaped, but there's an effort being run by some people in Kherson and Zarina Zarisky to help get those people out of there. She is the on-site reporter in Kherson and the author of this documentary. I wanted to, there's my media assets. As my listeners know, and I kind of told you beforehand, I memorialize people that we lost the previous week to the human safari or Russian terror campaign. Let's see, you go to this one. So this is Yaroslav, and he is a victim of human safari this past week near Kherson. I need to confirm which town he was, but it tends to be frontline cities, anywhere from at the front itself to 60 miles beyond is where you can get struck by these drones, and it happens all along the river cities as well. But his car was attacked, as is the typical MO, and he did not survive. So I want to remember him. And this, sometimes names are released well after they happened. And this woman is from Odessa and was killed in a hit drone strike. Yeah, and that happened on April 6th. She was there on maternity leave, which I think is saying that she was a frontline medic or frontline soldier, but had gone home for medical leave, and her child were both killed because they struck the hospital. So women tend to do 3 jobs in the military for Ukraine, and that is the job of sniper. But this is Darga.
Darga. Yeah, I just found her online. Okay. Yeah, Darga.
Darga and her daughter Anna, another young Anna caught in the crossfire. And then this is all we have of the scene of this is also in Kherson. Kherson is often shelled by artillery. Every city within range of Russian artillery gets hit, and one thing that can drive artillery backwards for the Russian artillery to get it out of range is American HIMARS. So I'm always, and HIMARS is a 50 to 60-year-old weapon system that is the reason Ukraine was able to, one of the reasons, not the reason, but one of the reasons Ukraine was able to reclaim as much land as they did all the way back to the Dnieper River. But their ammunition on it is running out. So the Russian artillery has begun to move forward again. And what happens is playgrounds get hit with shells. And this killed the father and the mother, and a young 3-year-old are in critical condition in the hospital. So we hope they can be moved back through that process that Ed was talking about, where they can make it to Kyiv and get the better medical care, because they're probably going to need it. And there's been Instagram of this, so pretty graphic. This is one of the least graphic pictures I could find for my podcast. But I just want to, if you're a praying person like me, or if your thoughts go out to them, hopefully they will pull through. And so that is what the mission of you and Ed's friends are dealing with. But the same question kind of goes for you. When you were over there, did you meet any of the patients?
We did. I was able to meet some of the patients from the first mission that we were involved with in 2024. And, one gentleman in particular, we did orbital floor implants for him. He had lost both of his eyes. His name is Arthur. And just such an amazing young man. And he, since his injuries, he's become a kind of a champion in rock climbing, believe it or not.
Oh.
And he's won some regional awards for rock climbing. But he has no sight in either eye. And we were meeting him in Kyiv so that Jorge Corona could do a checkup on him. And I believe he was getting his prosthetic eyes that day. But the surgery happened in October of 2024 to kind of reconstruct the eye orbits. And he was injured, I believe, by a drone attack as well.
So he rock climbs, but he's blind still?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that might help me with my fear of heights. I don't know if it would, but not. There's
an amazing piece that we did on our website on Arthur. So you might be able to source that.
On the Ed's Friends website?
No, on MedCAD's website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's your website?
It's medcad.com, medcad.com.
Well, that's easy to remember. So everyone, for our audience, go check that out at medcad.com. And I think I can even very quickly create, let's see, there we go. And now we're showing medtechcad.com, and I'm kind of want to explore it myself, but you've got, this is not a donation place, but it's your company.
It's my company.
Yeah.
And let me forward you the link of the piece on Arthur. Let's see here.
So
you can see, that's Ed's. Okay, so if you scroll down, so see, that's the Jorge Corona there on the right
here,
on the right with the cowboys. And so this is one of the patients that he corrected an eye. This is not Arthur, but this is one of the pieces that we did about our Ukraine project. And it's a video, actually. So this is Arthur. This is Arthur, and he's a twin. So it's his twin. He and his twin brother. So if you, this very moving piece here. This is one of the patients, but this is Jorge Corona. Kind of showing. This is a pre-operative photo, and he worked on this gentleman about 3 years ago. And anyway, this is a piece that kind of goes through the process. And this here is our modeling software that allows us to take one side of the face and mirror it to the other in the case of just repairing one area. But you can see this soldier here had multiple fractures, and this is Arthur. So this is both of his eyes. Anyway, so it's a great piece on the project. Yeah. And there's various other examples here. This green area and green clip here, this shows what it looks like to 3D print in titanium. So we use titanium powder that's brushed across, and then you see this laser beam that's hardening each layer thinner than a human hair. And over time, that bed drops.
Wow.
Thinner than a human hair. So we can print screws with threads in them that'll screw into a receptacle. That's how accurate this is. And so what that's printing is titanium implants for the face.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's really going to help a lot of people. Not just there, but here as well, I'm sure. So.
Oh yeah. The thing that's so, one of the aspects of the project for the company is that, every day we do this sort of work. We don't do war trauma, but we do, trauma that happens with gunshots or car wrecks or things like that, cancer. But we've been able to follow these patients from the preoperative phase to the postoperative, like I described when I was in Kyiv. And it's just been incredibly moving for our company and for our employees to be able to see their contributions to changing these people's lives. And we do this every day in the United States, but we don't get to have access to the patients due to patient privacy concerns. So this has been, a real morale booster for our company and our employees.
We talked to some surgeons a couple of months ago from Ukraine that came to visit here. They said they work on a salary of about $200 a month. So they would be very excited to be able to learn this technology. And I kind of wonder, and I don't know if you have an expert opinion on this or if it would just be the same level of speculation as me, but where do you think Ukraine would be in terms of medical technology had they not had to deal with 12 years of war?
Actually, I will tell you what I've learned from the surgeons we're working with. Prior to 2014, they had access to the technology that we're using. I mean, we weren't printing titanium as much, but they had titanium printers to access in Poland and in Kyiv. So the younger surgeons knew how digital surgical planning worked, and they'd have access to it. Since the war happened, they don't. Those titanium printers or metal printers are being used for war-related things. And so if you imagine a young surgeon who's kind of been trained on 3D and the digital side, and then not having access to it, kind of having to learn the old way. I mean, I'm sure in medical school they learn that way, but so we've been able to kind of give them some normalcy from that angle too. And the other thing that's important to note here is that some of the cases that we've worked on are incredibly complicated reconstructions of the maxilla and the mandible. As Ed had mentioned, we can rebuild a mandible by taking the fibula bone out of the leg and design the curvature of the replacement area. And so there was one case we reconstructed a mandible, an eye, and a cranial implant in one surgery. And the important thing to kind of note here is that getting it all done at one time, while very complex and a lot of recovery, they don't have to go back to their small town in a war zone or in a country has a war going on. The logistical side of it isn't there. They don't have to get 2 or 3 surgeries. They can have it all addressed in one surgery. And that's been a pretty powerful thing, I think, for these patients. They can get taken care of in Kyiv, get to a place of recovery, and then be able to return home. So that's been pretty amazing that these surgeons there, and also the ability to take care of these critical care recoveries in the Kyiv Regional Hospital where our cases have happened. It's pretty impressive.
That is super impressive because, they talk about working, the surgeons that I met talked about working on 1970s technology, like even for doing an ultrasound, they were running out of their equipment was going bad because it was all 70s level ultrasounds. And so they were needing new equipment as part of the donation process as well.
Yeah, the surgeons, Dr. Yuri Chapernal in Kyiv, was very familiar with the type of technology that we use. He's been to visit our shop twice here in Dallas. He's been collaborating with microvascular surgeons here in the US and some on the team that have gone back. But yeah, they do have areas where, like, for example, they didn't have a high-powered microscope in the Kyiv Regional Hospital that we were in, which is pretty challenging to do a connection of, you know, the veins and arteries with loops that are just 5x, you know. But they've been doing that. So they have, yeah, definitely spotty areas where they don't have all the technology they need. And but you know, luckily Ed was able to get a microscope sent there.
Yeah, that
and
the
our
microscope was impressive.
Yeah, our next mission is going to be in September, fall time frame, and we'll be doing similar cases like we did in December, but we'll have that microscope. But you asked, you know, your general question was, you know, about the technology. Absolutely, they, you know, these surgeons have they're working on complex trauma every day, so it's definitely. I think that some of the American surgeons are learning from them as well. You know, it's a collaborative experience. And for me as a bystander to be in the OR and watch this choreography between these surgeons that have never worked together before, American surgeons and Ukrainian surgeons, and you know, most of them speak English, but you know, all of the teamwork that goes into these cases is just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal to watch.
I was about to ask a little bit about the language barrier. I've been trying to pick up a little bit of Ukrainian myself, but I've gotten as far as Привіт, добрий день.
I have to be spoken for too, because I know none of it. But
Tatiana can help with that.
Yeah, Tatiana's our translator.
Oh, she really is, not just a photographer, but she translates too. Good.
She's fantastic. Yeah, she was with us in the OR the whole time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I could. Tatiana is a little shy, hasn't wanted to come on, but shout out to her. She can be found on Ed's Friends About Our Team page. But she is the one that took those pictures that I was showing earlier too.
Yeah, fantastic photographer. She's not shy about getting the camera in the OR for sure. She documents it very well. But yeah, so it's an incredible team.
Have many other patients have to be brought to the United States? Like he mentioned, that happened with several of the patients in the Children of the Fire story too, where they were brought to San Diego. The young Anna brought to Texas was the first that I'd heard of that. But
yeah, that's I have not heard of any of the patients we've worked on to be brought here.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure, you know, they have years of more reconstructive work in the future. But I'm just proud to be involved with, you know, going in with the best technology that we've got worldwide and be able to save someone from 2 or 3 surgeries and get them done in one time.
What was the realization that you could go from toys to the medical field?
That's a good question. Yeah. I have a background in sculpture, and you know, when I went to school and I got into 3D animation, and you know, I could model anything, you know, and my team could model anything. So when we were approached by some surgeons from UT Southwestern back in 2005, you know, asking about, they'd heard about what we do, and you know, thought, hey, we do some really complex surgery of the jaw. You think you guys could help us figure out a way to do it digitally? And that's how it happened. And so one of those surgeons sat with us for a couple of months and taught us how this procedure is done in the real world. And we started testing it out with 3D printed splints and guides, and it was working. And at that point, I saw a huge opportunity to bring this kind of technology to patients. And it took quite a long time for the FDA to catch up, and many of the surgeons to catch up, because at that time, you know, they were unfamiliar with 3D and 3D printing. But when we saw kind of the next generation of surgeons come through that had played video games, had been involved with 3D printers, maybe in high school, it literally turned the tide around 2018 for a broader acceptance of this technology. And the FDA started, you know, seeing the power of it. Insurance companies started seeing the power of it, because if you can save many minutes in the OR, everybody wins. It's better for the patient, better for the hospital, better for surgeon. It reduces risk. It's just makes sense. And so being able to do this and save 3 hours in the OR on a complex mandibular reconstruction, that's absolutely huge.
Right.
You know,
This
so
was this ever used, this type of technology, when for our soldiers, Afghanistan, Iraq, that kind of thing, or?
yeah, well, I early on that's one of the areas that I also kind of the light bulb went off. I
Mm.
was involved with kind of on the peripheral of DARPA at that time, and we were working with some academics out of Carnegie Mellon, and kind of presented some ideas on how this technology could really help in maybe even front line. But it was very 20 years from now kind of ideas. But now we're kind of seeing it. We're seeing
The
it happen.
the reason I mention our soldiers in Afghanistan and is because one of the things that kind of drives sort of the uh, this isn't our fight, let Ukraine handle it themselves kind of attitude is not only a nationalistic attitude and fatigue from the own wars that we've fought for ourselves. I don't want to go too far down that tangent, but one of the things that drives that is thinking that it's too complicated of a situation. It must be thousands of years of ethnic history that I don't understand between Russia and Ukraine. So let them sort it out. And plus, they're a third world country, anyways. I run into that all the time. And they're not a third world country. They have all the same technology that we do. And not only that, but being a partner with them makes our nation stronger in a lot of ways. Not only are we learning, how to fight the wars of the future, which you hopefully don't have, but they are going to involve drones and drone interceptors. We talked about this a little bit beforehand, but also it seems like the medical technology of the future is also developing out of this. And I think
it really is, and I think a lot of what we do was developed, during Iraq and Afghanistan. The technology that we use is used also at Walter Reed. We do cases at Brook, at BAMC. So yeah, but back in the day, as technologists, which I would include myself in that list, in 2005, we were all thinking about how can we make, first line trauma care better using 3D printing and 3D technology. And I would have never guessed that we'd be building drones on the front line, which is what Ukraine is doing underground. It's just incredible the kind of things they're doing with 3D printing parts for drones. So yeah, all of this is a catalyst for developing better technology to address these concerns.
yeah.
And I think it did happen it did definitely happen in the U.S. with Iraq and Afghanistan.
Well, if we'll leave it at that for now. If we talk for too much longer, nobody will watch the rest of it for an hour. But unless they have a long drive, I appreciate you, Nancy. I appreciate
Thank you, Travis.
And here,
crazy how we met, Travis. I mean, really crazy how we met. So I'm glad we could make this happen.
The middle of marching against all the other craziness going on, but which I talk about from time to time, because there is a connection between what you see with Russia's attempts to kidnap children and sort of our own version of that going here in the United States and coming up with excuses for doing it and whatnot. So every day there's good things that we can point out that connect our two countries and bad things, but I again look to Ukraine as the example of how to handle it. And if you do it right, and if you use the power that you have responsibly, then you don't have to have a big war either to get out of it. But and I think that this war could be ended with our full assistance very quickly. And maybe that's one more. When you were there, did you experience many air raids or have to go in a shelter yourself?
I went to a shelter one night, and not ironically, you would expect that to have been in Kyiv, but it was in Lviv. It was terrifying. Your phone goes off with the alarm. And it was unnerving. I think there was a raid one day when we were in the operating room, which was amazing that that no one really batted an eye. They just kept going. They had something to do, had a job to do, and they kept going.
Yeah,
But
they did.
yeah, I was there a few days after the terrible raids in Kyiv around December 3rd.
Mhm.
So we got driven in the next day, and they left Kyiv alone for 4 days, and then we went to Lviv, and that's when we had to go in the shelter.
Oh.
So anyway,
And
it
I
was
just am a big advocate of, because of those, that it should give the world an excuse to close the sky. And what you want you to ask your congressman or senator for, if you call them, and it's important to call them, regardless of what side they are, and whether you think it'll do any good or not, because they write down all the statistics of your call. But what you want to ask for in terms of a no-fly zone is a no-fly corridor for humanitarian reasons.
yeah,
That
definitely.
way, what you're doing is you're saying, we need to participate in stopping these drone attacks, and that can be painted as Russia's fault, because it is, and it will not be an escalation of the war, which is what everyone would be concerned about. But if you did a no-fly corridor, you could protect a lot of civilians, and it may inadvertently, it would help Ukraine win the war faster, and they're going to win. It's just a question of how quickly will that happen. So
yeah.
Anyway. Okay. I always
Thank
have
you.
a few extra thoughts. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Love to
Thank
have
you.
back.
Enjoyed it. Thank you for the invitation. Yep, this is great.
And I always say, glory to those who defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and Slava Ukraini.
Heroam Slava.
Heroam Slava. All right.
Bye.
We don't have, okay.